Hey guys, LevelCap here. Today we're going to be talking about the Hardline beta. Is this a true Battlefield game? Is it just a reskinning of BF4? Is it Need for Speed meets Battlefield? We're going to discuss all that and more in today's video. But first, allow me to use the Force to reload my AKM. If you want to pull off this custom Force reload, just make sure you hit up, up, down, down, left, right, BA, and then start, and you should hit the cool Force reload. Now let's get some of the bigger franchise questions out of the way. Is this the true Battlefield game? It is the first non-militaristic Battlefield game, and it's also the first Battlefield game being developed by a company other than DICE. That being said, the gameplay screams Battlefield 100%. I've got my M16A3 with a heavy barrel and foregrip. It feels very similar to Battlefield 3 Gunplay, and I can play Conquest Large just like any traditional Battlefield game. However, there's a lot of new game modes which I would actually say improve the franchise pretty drastically. Yes, there is a very large theme shift with this Battlefield game. It's one of the bigger risks that the franchise has taken, but I think it's really paid off, and if you're going to let a small detail like that keep you from playing this game, then I honestly think you're going to be missing out on one of the best Battlefield games ever made. That is not something I would have said the first time I played Battlefield Hardline. Myself, along with a lot of my other colleagues, would have said the same thing, that they were very concerned about this title, that they were concerned it would be a Battlefield 4 reskin, that there wasn't enough newness in it, that the cops and criminals theme wasn't strong enough in the gameplay, and a lot of you guys had the exact same concerns when you played the first beta. We were all very vocal about this, and in response, EA and Visceral delayed the game by 3 months and spent that time making it really feel more like a cops and criminals style Battlefield game and polishing the heck out of it. Now, not only did they fix bugs, but they completely redesigned certain aspects of the game. The mechanic class used to spawn with RPGs and SMAs. This just seemed way out of place in a cops and criminals game. How often do cops bring a rocket launcher to a firefight? Pretty much never. So they redesigned a lot of things about it, made SMAs and RPGs sort of battle pickups around the map. They also made machine guns battle pickups around the map. Again, something you're probably not going to see too much in a cops and criminals style game. You're not going to bring an M249 to a bank heist. That being said, there's still a lot of traditional Battlefield things in this game that don't really fit the cops and criminals world. Parachutes, for example. How often are you going to see that? Maybe in some sort of elaborate heist where you have to parachute off of a skyscraper, but other than that, nobody's going to be packing parachutes to jump off of building tops all over the place. In addition to that, how many helicopters are going to have mounted weapons on the side of them? That, again, feels very out of place. I would have been more comfortable with transport helicopters and scout helicopters just having people sit on the sides of them and shoot down from the chopper at other people on the ground, or just using them primarily as transportation vehicles. Now, when asking the developers about things like this, they actually did say that they tried playing the game with some of these bigger changes, like no parachutes and stuff like that, and it just ended up not being as fun, so they decided to put it back into the game, regardless of the fact that it didn't really line up with the theme quite so well. Personally, I would have loved to see a Battlefield game have the balls to get rid of the class spawnable parachute and just make them items that only pilots or people who bailed out of helicopters have. But it's easy to see where the developers would get concerned about changing such fundamental things from the game, because a lot of the initial feedback was contradictory. You had half the community saying it was too different from regular Battlefield games, and then the other half saying it wasn't different enough. So you're basically getting contradictory feedback. Personally, I would have loved to see Visceral take the all or nothing approach. That's just me, but I have a feeling that this game would have been just fine without, say, parachutes. Now, how about this new Hotwire game mode? This is something that I would say is very much in line with the cops and criminals theme. Car chases, what more could be cops and criminals? It's also something that I think most people who have played it are just loving every little bit of it. There are some naysayers out there saying, oh, it's Need for Speed meets Battlefield, and that the radio and stuff like that feels very out of place, but I will remind people that Battlefield Vietnam gave you the ability to turn on the radios in Jeeps and helicopters and stuff like that, so the music thing is certainly not a first for the Battlefield franchise. You also have the option to just turn off the radio in the car if you don't like it. Now, what about the gunplay? This is something that was such a hot topic in BF4 because there are so many weird things about the netcode and things just not lining up correctly. There certainly is a faster time to kill in this game. It feels very much in line with Battlefield 3. This is something that I personally like, but a lot of people like longer time to kills. It's really your own personal preference, but currently I'm loving it. And of course, there are still some weapons balance issues and some recoil issues, and the developers are still working on these things. It is a beta after all, so not every gun is going to be working as intended from the start, but in general, it's a pretty good idea of what the gunplay is going to be like. And I have to say that overall, I feel like everything's much more solid than Battlefield 4. I can aim at somebody, shoot them, get the kill, stop before my whole magazine's empty, transition to a secondary target. I'm commonly getting triple kills with a single magazine and a weapon. These are things that I'm not used to since Battlefield 3, and it's really nice to see them returning. That being said, there's still some old school bugs sticking around in the Frostbite engine. The fail reload bug has been there forever. It's never going away. I'm just assuming at this point any game that's ever made on the Frostbite engine is going to have that incredibly annoying fail reload issue. This is where you reload your gun, and when you put the new mag back in, you still only have 3 bullets or whatever you had before you started the reload animation. Unbelievably annoying. There's still plenty of kill trades in the game as well. There's also the issue of player models not really properly updating the direction that they're looking. If you're not aiming down sights, then your player model on other people's screens could be looking in a totally different direction. This makes it unbelievably annoying when you're trying to sneak up on somebody and all of a sudden they just shoot you in the face. They were actually looking at you the whole time, you just never knew. Sure, Visceral didn't design the Frostbite engine, but that doesn't mean I'm going to give them a pass on extremely annoying bugs that are still in the game. How long does it take to fix a failed reload bug? EA? 5 years? 6 years? 7 years? I have a feeling we're never going to see this stupid bug fixed. But like I said earlier, this really is a true Battlefield game, bugs and all, so take it or leave it, I guess. You're never really going to get the perfect Battlefield game. Now, despite these bugs and annoyances, this is still a solid game, and it's the most fun I've had playing Battlefield since BF3. I really think Visceral has done an excellent job, and I really hope the community just checks out this game. I'm not saying pre-order the game, I'm not saying spend all your money getting premium or anything, but if you were a skeptic of Battlefield Hardline and you're simply not playing it because you don't agree with the theme of it, or you're still sore about the state of Battlefield 4, I would just say get the beta now, try it for free, try and play the demo when it comes out, because if you don't play this game because of some grudge you have against EA or something like that, you really are going to be missing out on, in my opinion anyway, one of the best Battlefield games made so far. Also, you simply have to try out the new game mode Heist. Basically, Rush doesn't make a whole lot of sense in a cops and criminals world, so they've created a game mode called Heist, and it's a lot of fun. In my opinion, pretty much more fun than Rush. Rather than just attacking and defending, it gives you more complex choices. Where do I want to defend? Do I want to defend the vault itself? Do I want to defend the drop-off points? Do I want to pick some weird obscure sniper location and pick people off when they're least suspecting it? There's a lot of cool little strategies to this game mode, and I really like it. I think it could actually be a fun competitive game mode to watch as well. There's also been some nice little updates that Visceral has made that really go a long way, especially for veterans of the community. You can now save loadouts for different classes. You can have 5 different loadouts for each class. This way you don't have to constantly switch out gadgets and gear all the time just for different game modes. You can actually save a different class for each type of game mode. The money unlock system is a much better system than previous Battlefield games. It basically allows you to get the items and gear that you want rather than going through these crazy progression trees until you finally get the scope that you wanted, or finally unlock the sniper rifle you wanted after unlocking 10 guns or something like that. This just allows you to spend the money on the guns that you want and not have to worry about grinding out gears and guns. Once you get good enough at the game, you're probably going to want to get all the gear anyway, but this just kind of allows you to get it in the order you want. Making weapons more class specific has also given the classes much more character to them. The Deagle is only available to the Enforcer class. If you want the 44 Magnum, you're going to have to play the Mechanic. Assault rifles, carbines, PDWs, sniper rifles, all that stuff is class specific. There's no universal weapons anymore, and this again makes classes much more interesting. Grabbing ammo and health off of teammates is an amazing update. Having ammo caches and health caches distributed throughout the map makes certain areas of the map much more valuable than others, and I really like that. It actually makes capture points and stuff like that have a little bit more value to them. Incendiary and Molotov grenades now burn blue, letting you know teammates through them. There's no more front knife animation. Holy crap, I never thought I would praise the company so much for removing a feature from a game, but thank God front knifing is gone. Maps seem a lot more interactable with doors and security cameras and locking certain doors from certain sides and placing sabotage bombs on doors, and you can even use custom melee weapons to bash down doors so that people can't close them anymore. Explosive spam has died down so much. RPGs are not in great abundance anymore, so they're not going to be flying around every single corner. The only explosive grenade you get is the M67 frag grenade. Everything else pretty much does damage over time. Now, despite loving all these cool little things about the game, simply put, my biggest concerns right now are the inconsistency between destruction. It's really annoying playing some maps where there's hardly any destruction, and other maps where just about every single wall you can break through and destroy. It's hard to try and get a feel for the game in general when the feeling between maps changes so much. The other thing I don't like is that Commander mode has returned as hacker mode. Sure, you can play servers that don't have this enabled, but I think in general it just reduces the amount of good servers you can play on. If there's a hacker in a server, it's going to pretty much eliminate all your options for stealth gameplay. Some of the classes are basically built around stealth style gameplay, so if there's a commander, they're just kind of ruining that for those classes. Also, the 3D spotting mechanic in Battlefield has always been a bit overpowered and annoying, and just having somebody there whose only objective and goal is to just spot everybody on the map, that's just aggravating as heck for anybody with any sort of flanking skills. Anyway, those are my concerns with the game, but I'm still loving it a ton overall, and if you don't believe me or my opinions, go check it out. You can play the beta. It's been extended till Monday, so I highly recommend checking out the Battlefield Hardline beta. As always, guys, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. This is LevelCap, signing off.